Hey everyone, welcome. This might be the most valuable training video that I'm going to launch all year. The reason is it's basically an end-to-end training on how to actually succeed with cold email in today's new age, new era in 2024 and moving on. Okay? Now, I've seen a lot of people fail with cold email. All right, and deal with a bunch of failures only to just curse its name. But the reality is, it's not cold email's fault. Okay, so watch this training in its entirety. It all flows together. All right, and I'm going to show you how my cold email script and A/B testing strategy that got me 1 in 68.5 leads interested, and how you can do the same. And I'll actually show you one of my clients that's getting way better results actually than that. All right, this is an unheard of number. All right, but this whole training goes and flows together. So if you learn the first thing and you don't learn the third thing, then it really won't all tie together and make sense. Okay, just like other videos that I've done in the past, this is a Notion document. It's in the description. You can make a copy of it. If you watch this video in its entirety, what's in it for you? First of all, by mastering these cold email strategies, you're going to achieve higher response rates. Okay, so this approach is going to help make sure that you get your emails not only delivered, but also spark interest and get replies, interested replies, not positive replies, interested replies, okay? You're going to increase your lead generation efficiency with a tested and proven strategy so that you can spend less time guessing and more time connecting with the right prospects, the right ones, okay? Super, super important. I see too many people focusing and emailing irrelevant ones. We don't want to do that. So I'll show you how. You're going to have you're going to be able to optimize your campaigns continuously using an A/B and even A through Z testing strategy. Okay, so you can learn what works the best for you, allowing you to refine and perfect your cold email outreach and build a sustainable outreach system and create a foundation for your email campaigns that support long-term success. I see too many people launching email outreach and only being able to sustain it for a short period of time and then think that it's just one of these things you can, you should just do for a short period of time. That's far from the truth. So I'm going to show you the process to help you get sustainable results. Okay, if that sounds good, keep watching. If you are new to the channel and you don't know me, my name is Patrick Spielman. I'm the founder and CEO of Uptix, which is a sales automation CRM with a lot of cold email, deliverability features, all this kind of stuff. I've helped tens of thousands of salespeople and over 3,000 customers boost their sales with these strategies. All right, I'm a former 6-time award-winning top 10 master franchisee at a company called Sculpture Hospitality. I ran a 7-figure sales agency, and I've used all of these strategies that I'm going to talk about. So this is real life experience. But enough about me. Let's dive into how you can use these to help your business. The first thing, before I get into the cold email script and the A through Z testing, A/B testing strategy we use, it's important that I talk to you about the sequence strategy. People don't often really think about this. Okay, so first of all, we need to think deeper about the sequencing and the strategy before we actually launch it. Otherwise, we're going to set ourselves up for failure. So the problems that I often see with people is I see what I call lead dumping. I see many people dumping leads of loads into a single sequence, but in reality, the strategy doesn't help you understand where you're getting traction. Okay, which is ultimately going to increase your odds of failure by not understanding where you're getting traction, which forces you to focus on volume to replace those lost conversions, which then creates more failure, all right? And then more volume results in distraction from testing and optimizing, which causes even more failure. Okay, we don't want this to happen. So you're probably used to launching a sequence like this. Okay, you've got at the top, it starts, you got step 1, you got step 2, you got step 3, and you just dump all your leads into the top, right? We don't want to do that anymore. So here's the solution to that. I call it sequence isolation. All right, so instead, what we want to do is we want to isolate our leads by persona, all right, into their own sequences so you can get an understanding of your ICP who actually responds to your outreach. And what this is going to do, it's going to increase your odds of success by understanding where you're getting traction, which allows you to focus on volume where it counts. Not just volume, volume where it counts, thus reducing distractions and increasing your odds of success. How would that sound? Okay, if we can actually focus on who we want to target, who's resonating, who our message is resonating with, right? And then increase our odds of success, who doesn't want that? Okay, so here's a new way, all right? And a subtle plug here, we've made this really easy in our software. It's called Sequence Paths, but this is kind of what it looks like. So instead of enrolling all your leads into a single sequence and then having a linear process and the same process for each one of those, what you want to do is you want to split it into paths. And you could, if you're not using an Uptycs, I'd love for you to try it, but if not, you could isolate this in different sequences themselves. You just have to segment your leads by persona. But we've made it super, super easy to enroll all of your leads at the top and then filter them into different paths, we call it. Okay. And by isolating these, you're going to understand where you're getting traction. Okay. Which is going to help us make smarter decisions, resulting in higher success, as I said. All right. And here's an example. Using this strategy, we recently helped a client get an almost 3% interested rate. Okay. Here is a screenshot. We got 3 interested leads, and we're in testing phase right now. So we test on low volumes. Okay, we're testing, and this bucket, this path, is for owners. Where before this, what we were doing with this client's outreach strategy was all the leads, owners, VPs, all the other people they're targeting were all lumped into one. So we didn't really know where we were getting the traction without assessing every little lead, right? And then our copy wasn't really specific to each bucket. Okay, so super, super helpful. This is actually good movement for the client. They were extremely happy with this. All right, and just understand this is a limited sample before we've scaled. So before you scale, you want to figure this stuff out. Okay, this ultimately is it illustrates the importance of segmenting. And again, I'm going to show you how I got 1 in 68.5% interested, or 68.5 leads interested on a little bit broader scale, kind of a next test phase. All right, so that's the sequence strategy. You want to isolate things, okay? Now let's hop into the A through Z testing, okay? Now that we understand that high-level strategy, before we get into the cold email scripts, we need to talk about A through Z testing. I don't see people testing enough. A lot of times I don't even see people doing A/B testing, let alone A through Z testing. But I'm going to try to make the case here in this video to show you why you should do more tests. Maybe not all A through Z, right? I'll show you what we do. But this is an important piece to the puzzle. So the problem is what I call decision blinders. What I see people having is decision blinders. Okay, they launch a sequence with a single email variation, right? And what this does is it barely leaves any room for error. Okay, and I'm going to show you some stats and show you the room for error that you may not have. Okay, so hang tight with me for a second. All right, but we don't want to do that because you're going to risk making bad decisions. And I'm going to show you the stats and the data on how you can easily launch an email and not nail it the first time, okay? So, and ultimately having decision blinders isn't going to help you understand where you're getting traction, okay? And I like to use the saying, the military has a saying, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Meaning if you don't have a backup plan, and what I see A/B testing is having backup plans, right? You don't want to bet on just one email is all of a sudden going to crush it. It's not the case, okay? And I have another saying, I borrowed this from somewhere, I don't remember where. If it's not a test, it's a guess. And if you're guessing, you're probably not succeeding, okay? If you guess many times, you have a higher chance of succeeding, okay? So none or minimal testing, right, will increase your odds of failure by not understanding where you're getting traction with messaging, which forces more volume, which creates more failure, and more volume, again, results in distraction from testing and optimizing, which causes even more failure. It's a vicious cycle, okay? And I see people giving up too fast here. All right, again, we don't want this to happen. So the old way was to write a single email, right, inside of your sequence. You wrote one email template, and then you launch that and you hope for the best. We don't want to do that anymore. It's getting harder with email service providers out there landing in the inbox. So sending unnecessary volume is going to be another thing that hurts your overall odds of success, because we don't want to do that. Okay, so here's the solution. I just call it obsessive A through Z testing. If you hone in on your messaging from the beginning, you can reduce the spaghetti throwing against the wall later. Okay, or self-sabotaging yourself by giving up. Okay, so to do this, you need to run A, B, C, D plus tests when you launch a new sequence to test your messaging. Then you pick your winners and continuously optimize for conversions. This is going to increase positive signals and help you stay out of jail. The overall, spam jail and the failure jail. We don't want that, okay? So if we have if we increase the odds of our positive intent signals, right, where your message is resonating, allowing you to focus volume where it counts, not just sending volume for the sake of volume. I see too many people wanting to just send emails for the sake of sending emails instead of sending it where it counts, right? This is going to reduce your distractions and increase your odds of success. Sometimes we have to slow down in order to speed up. That's what I'm talking about here. I know it takes a little bit longer to write multiple variations in order to get that sequence launched, but the juice is worth the squeeze. Okay, and we've made this super easy with our A through Z testing in our software. And so I'll show you that in a second. But once you narrow it down to 2 variations, you can fully automate the optimization. So in our platform, you can just add like multiple variations here. A through Z test, you just keep hitting plus, 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 plus. And once you get down to 2 variations, you can turn on this little toggle and select a goal, and it'll optimize for more replies, more interesteds, and you can automate this thing a lot easier. Okay, I don't want to make this about ticks. I just want to throw that little flashy feature in there. Okay, but the goal here, the idea here is that you isolate your copy, you isolate different offers and messaging, and you start to begin to understand the traction that you're getting with certain personas with certain messaging. So if you recall the above here, we break down our sequence by persona, okay? And each persona here has multiple variations of your emails, right? So now we can begin to understand what messaging resonates with which persona, which before, if you did this strategy, you can't really tell that, okay? And then that forces all those problems, okay? So that's the idea behind that, all right? Smarter decisions resulting in higher success. Now let's get into the cold email script strategy, okay? Now that you understand that, before we get into that, there's a million different scripts, okay? A million different frameworks out there. I'm going to teach you one of my favorites. It's called the hook, line, and sinker. Okay, I've used this pretty exclusively. It is a version of problem, agitate, solution, the copywriting framework that you've probably heard of, with more specifics and flair, as I call it, which adds to the kind of the timeless PAS framework. Okay, so line number 1 for your script. Okay, what we want to do is we want to surface a relevant problem to capture their attention. I like using a question, okay? So it's a problem-based question, all right? And what I'll mention here is it's best to micro niche the messaging here to call out your audience from the beginning, okay? So here's an example. Name, curious if your sales team is getting real results with their outreach, okay? It's kind of surface level. It can work to some degree, but think a layer deep. Think one layer deeper than that. Okay, if you're inclined to just go with more of a surface level message like this is, a line for upticks. Think one layer deeper than that. Okay, so what's one layer deeper? What could we think about? Curious if your sales team is losing deals from low outreach conversions. Okay, so I take our customers, for instance, and this training, right? Most people I know suffer from low outreach conversions. All right, so if I just say this, it's not as pointed. But if I say this, it's going to be more pointed to people who've actually experienced this problem. And I always say you'd rather get a 10% reply rate, right, from your leads, or you'd rather get, if you have 100 leads and you get 10 people to reply, right, very positively, it's better than getting 3% replying. Okay, so you'd rather the message resonate with 10% of your leads and get 100% of those leads to reply than to get 3% of all of them to reply. And that's kind of the idea here. Very generic, more pointed. Here's another example. This would be like a recruiting angle. Are you hiring for, insert job to, basically problem. Are you hiring for SDRs to improve quota attainment? Just an example, okay? Very short and sweet, but it's a hook, all right? A hook to get them thinking. All right, so that's the first line. Call it the hook. I like to use a question. Some people like to use statements, but questions are engaging. And I've tried different variations that don't perform as well without questions, and questions tend to perform better. The next line is what we call line, hook, line, sinker. Okay, what we want to do is we want to reel them in, agitate with an agitation line, and I like to add some proof here. So I'll tell you what that means. But we want to stay on topic with the agitation. Okay, so if we go in with this angle, we want to stay on topic with it because it's an agitate line. We're using basically problem, agitate, solution. Okay, so we want to stay on topic there and go deeper with it so that they know you understand them and you understand their problems. Okay, and our proof point could be the number of customers you might have, a specific customer, or something that just alludes to the fact that you've helped someone before. So here's an example. Asking because after working with 3,000 plus businesses, the biggest challenge they were facing is prospects don't respond to their outreach like they used to. Okay, or asking because after working with 3,000 plus businesses, the biggest challenge many were facing wasn't launching campaigns, that was the easy part, but getting interested leads since their prospects don't respond like they used to. So we're building on this, right? We're agitating these low conversions here, all right, by just getting a little bit more granular. All right, so you can take this and kind of adapt it, but I like the proof here, and I've tested this, and it does perform better, okay, by throwing in some sort of social proof that you've done something. Now the sinker is effectively our solution, and there's many solutions and many different angles that you can take. So this one's a little bit more complicated than these first two, okay? But we want to drop them into our interested bucket with a no-brainer solution. So there's a few different ones you can go with. There's an irresistible offer. These are kind of the main ones. And then there's lead magnets. All right, you could use some FOMO. I'll show you how we've done that. But let's just talk about like an irresistible offer. An irresistible offer might be something like, we will, insert promise in a certain timeline, or, you get some sort of guarantee or risk reversal. Here's how this might sound. We will increase your cold email conversions by 2 to 3x within 60 days, or will work for free until we do. That's an irresistible offer with a risk reversal. We will build you a cold email deliverability system, write your sequence copy, give you 1,000 leads, and waive our $1,500 setup fee. That's an irresistible offer. Okay, so think about some offer. This is direct pitch, of course, but this can help you increase your reply rate substantially. The next version of a sinker could be a lead magnet. All right, let's say you're a recruiter. You could say something like, hey, I have 2 account executives that each have 3 years experience at enterprise SaaS companies, and I think they'd be a perfect fit for, insert company. All right, this is a lead magnet. So in this case, as a recruiter, if you're in the recruiting space, you can use candidates as your lead magnet. Another version is I created 50 personalized intro lines for your top prospects for you to use, no strings attached. So this is a service-based lead magnet. Okay, another way that you could write this, I made like a certain asset, could be a video, a Loom video. I don't really like PDFs. Calculators work. You can use those, showing you exactly how you can increase your cold email conversions by 2 to 3x. Could be a video, could be VSL, that kind of stuff. All right, so irresistible offers, lead magnets. All right, the last one, this is something, these two are probably better to test. But if you want to cover your bases and test another angle, you could use what I call an innovative FOMO angle. So that is where you create a sense of urgency using a new process or system that may resonate with early adopters. Okay, so if you've developed something new, something innovative, and no one else in the market has a solution like that, you could use an angle like this. And we've used this angle, so we rolled up our sleeves, built a new solution, and it's beating the old way by 2 to 3x. We built the first autonomous sequencing solution, and it's beating the old way by 2 to 3x. Okay, it's not as strong as these, but it will resonate a little bit more with early adopters. All right, and the last part here is the CTA. There's 4 sentences in this email. Okay, I like using a low pressure CTA. It can reduce friction with less commitment. We want people to take micro actions. Right? So we just want to get them to open the email, then we want to get them to consider reading the whole email with our hook, then we want our line, get them to read the solution, so on and so forth. So every step of the way, we want them to make a micro commitment. So asking somebody for too much commitment up front is not a good thing for email. All right, so these are some ideas. I'm not sure it'll work for your niche, but would you like to see it? This would go along with something like an innovative, FOMO. And it's a little bit like, you're not being cocky, right? Hey, not quite sure. Sometimes if you take things away from people, it can resonate a little bit more and they feel less pressured, all right? And then if you'd like to see it as pretty low pressure. Would you like to see how our software and strategy can help? Would you be interested in seeing how it works? Worth a chat. Mind if I send it over? Can I send you some more information? Like these are low pressure. Like don't worry about trying to book a meeting in your first email, okay? Just get people to take micro commitments. If they reply back to you, pick up the phone and book a call. All right, let me show you some examples here. I'm running low on time here, so I got to get going. Here's an actual email that we've ran. Curious if your sales team is getting real results with their outreach. Asking because after working with 3,000 businesses, the biggest challenge they were facing is prospects don't respond to their outreach like they used to. So we rolled up our sleeves, built a new solution. It's beating the old way by 2 to 3x. Not sure it'll work for your niche, but would you like to see it? Okay, this version beat out several other versions. Okay, so that's how we do it. Now, in terms of the strategy, what you want to do is you want to write 2 to 3 variations of each sentence. So each one of these lines in your email, write multiple variations. Okay, then make multiple email template variations. So you saw here I have A, E, F, D, G, whatever. We had all the different tests here. Okay, then you want to use 1,000 leads for each path, and you want, if you write 4 variations, you want about 200 or so sends per variation. All right. And just a pro tip, by the way, so to follow up on this, for more statistical significance, you want enough sends. Okay. So when you build these lists, you want to make sure they're big enough so that you can scale into them later when you identify some winners. And just a pro tip, feel free to deviate from this copy strategy. If it's not a test, it's a guess. You never know what's going to resonate with people. So try longer versions, shorter versions, add context, remove context, etc. Okay, that doesn't need to be there. Now let's assess the results. Let's take a look at some real life results from our sequence. This is our first path. Okay, if we look at the numbers, so we split it down by persona. I don't want to show people who I'm targeting, and I have the targeting name here. But look at our tests. All right, so about 250 sends in each. We're only hitting a 2% reply rate, which isn't that good. Okay, 2%, 3%, 4%, right? But we're getting 33% interested rate here. So 2 of them came from here. That's pretty good. All right, so that's one example. All right, now let's go to path 2. Let's take a look. We actually archived 2 versions. Our A test, which is basically the same email as the last one I showed you, is getting a 4% with this audience. The last one was getting 2%, and we're getting a 36% interested rate. So more interesteds. All right, so these ones weren't working as well. All right, we got about a 3% interested here, but literally 0 interesteds. Now, remember I said there was a risk to emailing people and only having one variation that's not producing. So let's just say you write a variation and it's this one. You get 0 interested replies, but you get a 4% reply rate. Like, oh, okay, great. I got 4% reply rate. 11 people replied, but nobody's interested. Okay, if you try different variations, and it sometimes is subtle changes here, you might get the same reply rate, but actually people are interested, okay? And if you start to look at these now, the messaging is similar across the board. So this is basically the same email as that other one. So most of our interesteds are coming from that. And I can actually show you the third path, okay? A test, again, this is the exact same copy, 2 interesteds. So I'm starting to see some statistical significance here with this A test. But who it resonated most with was this audience. Okay, had I dumped all of the leads into one sequence and had one email version, I would have risked getting 0 interested replies. And if I would have gotten any interested replies, I might not have known the audience. Okay, so this path, who we're targeting here, it's resonating with more. 5 interesteds, 12 interesteds, 4 interesteds. Okay, yeah, and they all had about 1,000 leads. 1,000 leads, 1,000 leads. Pretty cool, huh? So here's the conclusion. Never launch a sequence or a campaign ever again without using these strategies. So again, imagine if you didn't have 3 paths, A through D tests, what would have happened? I would not have identified that path 2 was the ultimate winner, and I would not have found winning copy, or maybe even picked a variation that produced no interested leads. Okay, so by not following this process, you're going to increase the odds of failure by 30 to 50x, literally. Okay, depending on your variation counts. And by following this process, you're going to spend less time beating your head against the wall, cursing the name of outbound, and find statistical significance in your outreach. You'll be able to double down on your winners, scale up with less headaches, be more successful, make more money. Okay, now here's the next steps. If you got a ton of value from this content, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below with any questions. If you found these tips really helpful and you want to take your lead gen to the next level, your cold email to the next level, then I invite you to check out Uptycs. We have a comprehensive platform that combines these strategies to help you generate more leads, increase your bookings, and our tools allow you to personalize your outreach, automate your follow-ups, track your success all in one place. And you can sign up for a trial or our free plan at uptycs.io and see how you can transform your lead generation efforts. All right, so I hope you found this training video helpful, everyone. Start using it, and we'll see you in the next one.